Mrs. Jean Lambert is going to introduce the awards. Jean is a former teacher who has worked 20 years in the European Parliament as a UK MEP. She worked a lot with a focus on free movement, anti-discrimination, migrant rights, and also democracy and human rights. And since 2019, she's part of the board of ECAS. So I will now give the floor to Jean and to the nominees.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. And I know that we're short of time, but on the other hand, we haven't had much chance to do a lot of celebrating over the last few months. So I'm very pleased to be able today to move on to the presentation of the awards. So the award ceremony for us may lack a little of the unexpected drama of the Oscars, but it does show an equal passion and appreciation for high quality work. So 2021 was another difficult year, as we've been hearing, partly because of COVID, but which continued to make meetings and in-person activities difficult. But as our award winners show, the work on democracy and citizens' rights has certainly continued. For example, in terms of ideas, of connection and visualization. So for those who were not at last year's awards, I want to say that our online awards have their own stage, their own lights, their own music, they even have a red carpet, and they have short speeches about their work from the winners. So I hope that you will stay for the 3 presentations. So we heard today about the importance of people understanding citizenship and their rights, and education has an important role to play there. But how do we assess the quality of that education, and how do we ensure an effective delivery so that we can enable teachers to empower students? So our first award goes to the author of an important concept paper on ECAS. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce the award for the concept paper to Antonella Nuzzacci from the Department of Human Studies at the University of L'Aquila in Italy. So could we please do all the pizzazz of the presentation? So good, Antonella, would you like to give us a brief outline of your project and tell us why it's so important?
I thank the jury for this award for which I feel honored. I believe that research into citizenship and rights is extremely important today because of the implication it has for the promotion of harmonious coexistence between different people and mutually beneficial development of individuals and communities. What I mean is that the citizenship is linked to the pursuit of objective social justice and peace, and the in order to pursue them. It's first of all necessary to learn to be European citizens in terms of behavior, attitude, and feelings, counteracting the forms of violence that rage at all levels of the contemporary society. In this sense, education helps people to become citizens and to be increasingly aware of the responsible for the role they can play in society. Educational research can help to find ways and means of promoting quality citizenship education within formal, informal contexts, and can help to build the condition for the realization of an advanced intercultural European democratic citizenship, as well as an increasingly just society, free of discrimination and ever more capable of cultivating equal opportunities. In democratic societies, citizenship education helps individuals to become active, informed citizens willing and able to take responsibility for their communities at national, European, and international level. This immediately raises the question of the importance of creating a systemic citizenship culture at all levels and degree of education in all European countries by investing in research on citizenship education, which can promote well-being empowerment. For this reason, today, this prize for me can be interpreted as a way of supporting the idea of the importance of contributing through research to identify cultural solutions that are increasingly suitable to help children, young people, and adults to reduce their willingness to resort to violence in order to guarantee the rights of all, helping individuals to fight, eliminate their suffering through culture. Thank you all for your attention.
And thank you very much indeed for your work. It's really important, and I think will be an important contribution as we move forward on what citizenship actually means and how it can help transform our societies. So thank you, Antonella. Our second award, well, we were hearing earlier about the importance of people being able to exercise their right to vote. We heard this from the Commission and from others. And we also heard today of the many difficulties faced by mobile citizens when they want to do that. If we're being polite, I suppose we'd describe it as a rich diversity of national rules and practices, which may explain why only a minority of those mobile citizens entitled to vote actually do so. So our second award winners have been studying this issue, looking at good practice, and in addition to their really interesting report as part of their project, have also developed an app that will help mobile citizens across 3 countries to get engaged. So the winner of the project, Prodemo, represented today by Marian Kramer of the Democratic Society, as one of the 4 project partners. So please open the curtains again and let's do all the pizzazz for our great winners. wish my curtains did that when I opened them. So let's pass it over to Marion to give her a short speech about the work of the project.
Thank you very much. If everyone can hear me, it's a real honor to be accepting this prize, and I must acknowledge many of my colleagues who've worked on this project, including Jana de Schepper and Elizabeth Wiltshire and Raphael Pouillet, who you've seen in the video, but also our many project partners, of course, because the Democratic Society did not develop this alone, as was mentioned. So the Università di Roma Sapienza was part of this, ProGU was part of this, Programma Integra, that have made sure this was an inclusive process, and the Centro de Etudes Sociales of the University of Coimbra. And so together we have developed this project many years ago, long before COVID, because we felt that our core belief is always that citizens must have the opportunity, the space, but also the motivation to be included in the decisions that matter for their life, that have an impact on their life. That, of course, includes voting. Elections are not traditionally the domain of the democratic society, but in this case, we felt strongly we had to get involved because we really wanted to understand, A, what is holding citizens back, what are the structural obstacles holding citizens back, but also what can we do more to motivate them to step in that space and claim a right they already have in many cases. And so the ProDemo project came together and has worked on all levels. It's worked on the research level to better understand this this problem, including with the survey. It's worked on capacity building. It's worked on the awareness of citizens. And as you've just seen, it worked on digital tools to include and engage citizens in this process. And so over the last few years, including during the COVID periods where we had to go online, we engaged this community of citizens, but also the community of experts working on EU mobile citizens' rights to better understand this and to also understand what may help. And so we feel strongly that this app, among the other outputs of the project, is one of the gifts that we give to the community to be able to access across Europe and to really understand how you can inform citizens better, how you can visualize that on a map, how you can bring them the many events that could contribute to their awareness and their access. And how we can organize them better to be involved in this. And so thank you very much for this award today. It's a recognition mainly of how important the topic is and how much we need to stay on there. And thank you in the name of my partners as well. I will add one more note also following the brilliant discussions this morning, some of which have touched me deeply, especially the speaker talking about Brexit as well, is that I think it is very important for us as civil society organizations to come together to understand, A, the kind of infrastructure we need to continue this work, to make it scalable and impactful, and to make it kind of interconnected, as interconnected as possible. And some of that is hardwired infrastructure or is digital infrastructure, like this app today, but a lot of it is also institutional infrastructure. And then secondly, somebody mentioned this morning as well, is we all individually struggle with how on earth we're going to keep financing our initiatives. I think also there, we ought to come together and be very explicit about what we as civil society organizations need in terms of structural ongoing funding if we are to carry this important responsibility for society. And so warm kind of call out there to connect on that, because the issue is very alive in my mind and the mind of many others, I think. Thank you again. It's been wonderful to be part of this day, and thank you for the recognition.
It's our pleasure. It's really great work that you've done there. And I think that, you know, what you're talking about in terms of the need for support for civil society to help continue to this work is really important. It was a question that came into my mind earlier when I was listening to how do we change attitudes? Well, you know, whose responsibility is this and how can we actually make that work? So thank you again. So now we move to our third award, and this is something rather different for us. But in an age of social media, where we've been hearing today about the importance there, about the importance of values, the importance of images, the way in which they make us stop and think about the values that we have, the situation that we're in, we decided to give an image award this time, which is going to Christopher Radovici for a particular photograph from an Independently Together Europe with Love. So for the third time this morning, can we please open our curtains for the award. Okay, could we hand over to Christopher?
Yes, so first of all, thank you very much for the award. It's really an honor. In part, it's really interesting because unlike my colleagues or like the other winners, doing social documentary photography is more of a hobby, and especially the funny story behind the picture is that it's simply happened. Like I was going around London, taking out some pictures and stuff, where I ended up seeing a group of activists that were promoting some of the ideals that were also shared by their colleagues in the US, since we know it was in the middle of 2021 and we had some of the social movements going around the world. And I decided a little bit to stay, see how things go. And then out of the sudden, there were these two girls, like the ones you can see on the corner left of the picture, which were from different, you can presume from the clothing, the way they behave, they talked, and from other aspects that they were from completely different ethnicities and backgrounds, and they were having a really emotional speech at that time, and one of them started crying, so the other just decided out of the sudden to comfort her, and that was like the glance of it. And I really believe that, albeit the fact is not so grandiose, or the impact of social documentary photography or these types of artistic expressions, they don't have such a high impact. They serve more of a reminder to ourselves that there are glances of reality that we might miss out when we go to work, or when we ignore. Like, there are pieces of these marvelous aspects that are happening all around us, and like human gestures and everything else. And I believe we should pay more attention to it, and take a better care of each other. And secondly, the picture is designed that way. Like normally it's in color, but I decide to overlap three different compositions of the same picture, taking a few milliseconds apart, with a different degree of exposure, and in black and white, because it's actually to make the point of more of a paradox, as they are in black and white, and you would think, oh, it's okay, it's in the binary system, you have only these two options. There are tons of the nuances in the picture you can see in the programs. So the idea behind the picture is more of like, we need to break out from the linear approach and thinking that it's the other and us, that it's the left and the right, that it's this and that, that we have like this divide, and that we have like compartmentalized approaches in our lives and the binary system, and that we should go a little bit beyond it and try to see things in more perspectives, in different lights, try to understand especially each other's and the diversity of values that are all around us. And I really believe that the unicity and specificity of each person, each country, region, sub-region, and so on and so forth, taken into consideration, enhanced, and multiplied makes what Europe really is and gives Europe its strength in building ourselves independently with our own values, our own cultures, and bringing them together, shaping them into this larger thing, and trying to make the better out of all of the good or the bad stuff we have in a complementary way, and progress independently but together all along the road and all along this construction. So yeah, that would be it.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And I think your photo really plays into what we were hearing earlier, maybe about the core project and even the issue of bonding and people coming together, you know, in ways that they didn't think they would. So I think it really works. So thank you again to all our award winners. We look forward to next year's ceremony, where hopefully we might be able to do it in person. I'm very much looking forward to possibly a cake section with visions of Europe through different forms of cake. As we were hearing, you know, the example of marble cake earlier in from one of the speakers. And I think we've heard a lot from some very wonderful speakers this morning about the many significant challenges, of course, that there are to EU citizenship. But we've also heard a lot about how to withstand and deepen our understanding of that post-COVID. And as somebody from the UK who no longer has their European citizenship, that is something that I personally feel very deeply, and I'm pleased to see that we're still keeping in contact with the lessons that can be learned from what is happening in the UK and the struggles there to maintain rights. Because citizens' rights, we know, have been hard won. They need protection. Those rights have suffered during the COVID crisis. They've also suffered through deliberate disinformation and attack. And the challenge is now to fully engage those rights, whether exercising you know, free movement rights through your right to vote, through family reunion, whether it's your rights at work, whatever, and to strengthen them. And we've seen again from today how attitudes could change. And I was listening to Jana Thun's speech from the European Parliament the other day, where she was introducing her report, where she also was saying that every success must be protected. And I know that everyone here today is playing an important and active role in that protection, and indeed the promotion in many different ways. And hopefully the outcome of the Conference of the Future of Europe will take us forward with powerful recommendations that will be coming from that, and indeed the action as well, of course, of the Commission in updating and clarifying certain of the directives. But we all know that one of the most powerful protectors of our rights come through an active and informed civil society, backed by good governance, sound administration, and the rule of law. So I, for one, am very proud to be associated with the work of ECAS and our partners. And I want to pay special tribute to Asia Kavrakova and the ECAS staff for their important and inspiring work, along, of course, with our award winners and indeed all the other projects with which we are engaged. So I'll hand back briefly to Claire Moreau-Sieux for the final words. Claire, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jean. And congratulations, of course, to Antonella, Marianne, and Christopher. Our conference is now coming to an end. Thank you all for being here today, and we hope you have enjoyed the morning. We will come with a report that we will send to you, and the content of the conference will also be available online. Soon we will send the new edition of the ECAS Citizenship Awards. We will therefore solicit ideas on EU rights as part of the citizenship concept. These ideas can be shared on our crowdsourcing platform, and the top 3 most noted ideas will win. So thank you again to all of you for being here today, and we wish you a pleasant afternoon.